Pastor Brandon. I haven't done a lot of videos on this channel in a while. I got a few YouTubes, but this is where it all started. This is my first YouTube before it all started. But those of y'all who know my story, y'all know I'm a widower. I lost my wife almost 2 years ago, but God has been faithful to me moving forward in my life, and I have an amazing life that I'm about to propose to, and I'm not gonna get that away on this video because she might watch it, but we're real close to it. The date's already set. Get picked out the ring, and it's about to go down, so y'all pray for your boy that I have courage and I don't chicken out. But here's the story. We'll talk about how God told me she was the one. I'd known this young lady for a number of years. In fact, and we'll do it too once when we either get engaged or when we, right after we get married, or whatever the Lord says. So, I'd known her for a number of years, close to a decade. Ironically, she came to our church. I wasn't the pastor at the time, my dad was. I was on the pastoral staff, but I wasn't the senior pastor yet. I was one of his assistants. And one of our young ministers at the church was actually dating her at the time. I know that sounds weird to some of y'all, but listen to the story. God works in mysterious ways. They actually ended up getting married. I was at the wedding. I was happy for them. Without disclosing what happened in their marriage, I was one of the counselors. My dad, we tried to help them through it, but unfortunately, things didn't work out. A lot of integrity on her part in that, and I've been knowing her character from the time I met her. I knew she was a true woman of God, that she really loved God, and she was committed to her marriage. But sometimes things just don't work out. Love them both, and for some reason, he left, but she didn't. And the crazy thing about it was I've known him most of his life, but actually all of his life, because his mother and I, we were already friends. We kind of grew up together. And so I remember when he was born and all that. But he left the church to pursue some other things. Sometimes you got to we got to heal. Sometimes you got to move away to go heal, so let God work things out in your life. And, I don't blame him, when I got my divorce as a young man, a lot of the people that I was hanging around with, I just changed my environment. Not that they did anything to me or I did anything to them. It's just sometimes God changed the environment we're in. And so that's what happened, basically. I found out later my dad convinced her to stay. For whatever reason, she was active in the church. She was doing a lot of things. She was a blessing to our ministry, working, with the finances and different things in the church. We enjoyed having her. And, nothing ever crossed my mind, no thoughts of anything. Years go by, and I eventually married my late wife. And she actually became very close to my wife during that process. And when I'm married and I walk in integrity. Clearly she's an attractive woman, but I did never see her like that. I looked at her like she was my sister in Christ. By this time I was a senior pastor. So at this point, she was one of my members. So typically, by and large, I don't believe in dating, and we're going to get to that in a minute, members. I just want to keep the confusion and all that, because the devil can get in stuff and make things crazy and all that. So, we try to stay away from that whole situation. So, I don't look at a person like that. This is when my wife is alive. So I'm not even thinking of her like that. I'm happy, I'm married, our marriage wasn't perfect, but we're working through it. Fast forward, unfortunately, my wife passed away. This is a quick version of it. My wife passed away in 2023. And what I noticed, let me go back a little bit. She was very, very faithful. Not only was she my wife's friend, but she was very, very faithful to my wife. She took care of my wife. And I used to always tell her, I really appreciate all the things that you do for my wife. She was almost like an armor bearer. And she's like, she's like, thank you, Pastor. I just want to make sure First Lady got what she needs. And she would give my wife shoes and send her places. And she used to work for the hotel. So she would give us discounts. Me and my wife would go out of town. She'd see about us. She just was a blessing to our marriage. And she was a good friend. But I wasn't as close to her as my wife was. But I'd known her because she'd been part of the ministry. I consider us to be friends. I met her in 2015. So I'd known her for quite some time. And my wife passed away, and she was still there as a member. And I can actually tell because they were really close that she was really grieving. She was really hurt at the fact that my wife passed away. And she never bothered me. Some of them women, they can't wait till a man either get divorced or his wife die. They could sniff a man, they right up in his DMs, call him. She didn't do any of that. In fact, she was dating another young man at the church where they were trying to figure it out. And, it's one of those things that just didn't work out. Nice young man. I loved him. He worked in the ministry. And one day I was looking at her from the pulpit, and not in a lustful way, but it's almost like God kind of tapped me on the shoulder. It was like, you might want to take a look at her. She's somebody you need to get to know, you need to talk to. And, that kept going and kept going and kept going. And, over the course of 3 months, God kept dealing with me. First, it went from get her number, get to know her. Then eventually it was like, look, I'm gonna show you that this woman is your wife. And he's like, you've been watching her character for about 10 years at this point, 9 years, something like that. And God said, just she's a helper. Because I knew she was a good woman, but I wasn't around her all the time, so I wasn't privy to everything that she was doing. I do know that she fought hard to save her marriage. I do know that. I knew she walked in integrity. And that one, God just kept dealing with me. So I ended up going out of town. And I went out of town, and I went somewhere with my dad. There was a young lady there that I was interested in, that I wanted to get to know, and I was trying to get her phone number. I talked to her dad, and what's crazy about it is God let her leave before service, and I'm trying to get her phone number. I'm like, God, what are you doing? And God was like, I already told you who your wife. And God was like, go back home. Because, sometimes when it's somebody that I'm like, Shanika, I've known her for 10 years. Yes, she's gorgeous. She's beautiful. Yes, her spirit is sweet. But she's just not my type. She ain't really, I don't know if she's the one. I typically like lighter skinned women. She's darker skinned woman. Just all the excuses, just all this, the third. She dated one of the other brothers in the church, all these different things. And God was like, okay, God said, go back home. I want to show you her character. So I go back home, and I'm in the pulpit again, and I see her just lifting her hands and praising God. And I don't want to say, I was just smitten. Man, the thing just struck me. I was like, this woman is beautiful. I saw her in a way I'd never seen her before. I saw a wife in her. And then she started to do things for me that was like, she always was the one member that would always call me or text me, and not in a lustful way when she's trying to get with me, but she's like, Pastor, I really enjoyed that message. Just an encouraging. I can only count on my hand how many, like 3 or 4 people that would do that. And I know she always takes notes. Even now, she takes notes when I'm preaching, and just really just a help. Like, that somebody has really been blessed by the ministry, and not because they want something. I was married, so, she wasn't trying anything. My wife and they were close, and it just everything just worked out beautifully. And one day we went on our first, not official date, but our first meetup, and I went to a vegan restaurant. And I said, I need to talk to you about something. It kept messing with me. I hadn't had the courage to go talk to her. I was like, all right, God, if you're right, what you say this woman's my wife. Let this conversation go really well, and let us become friends and start getting to know each other, hanging out. And when I tell you, when we met, like I said, this is a shorter version. And we met in that restaurant. It was, I mean, it was like, I felt like I was talking to my best friend, like literally. Like we just hit it off. And I was like, I asked her out. I was like, why don't we go out, just kind of see where things are, just kind of see what's happening, and just, make sure. And at the time, she was kind of still in a kind of a situationship with the young man. And I was like, I said, I respect it. If y'all are together, hey, I respect that. I'm not going to do anything. And she was like, I'm going to go talk to him and basically tell him, and it wasn't even in a bad way. And she went and had a conversation with them, and they were able to, reach an agreement. Of course, he wasn't happy all the way about everything, but it wasn't done in any mild way, and everything ended great. The young man ended up leaving. He already had left our ministry anyway, and we just started to hang out and get to know each other, and it just one thing after another, and we just hit it off, and it was just a beautiful situation. And we've been together for 9 months now. And we've been doing, we covered all the bases. We got people holding us accountable. We got, mentors and things of that nature that I've been checking in with. We have the difficult conversations. We've been courting, because the whole purpose of us, she knows how I believe. I'm not doing nothing if I don't have marriage in mind. I'm not gonna just date you. If I don't think I can marry you, I'm not gonna date you. That don't mean I'm gonna marry you. Guarantee I'm gonna marry you. But if I don't think I can marry you, I'm not gonna date you. And I wasn't even thinking about marriage. Really, at that point, my wife had been dead. It hadn't been a year yet, so I was still recovering from that. But I didn't realize God was going to use her to help me heal. And it's just a beautiful story. When I got her with us together, we'll tell more about our story. But that's how I know that the woman that I'm in a relationship with now. We had all the conversations. We talk about money, talk about family, expectations. These are deep conversations that during a courtship, you need to have all these conversations before the engagement. All this needs to be happening before, because that way you know whether you want to invest and go out and buy a ring, young men, brothers, what I'm saying, before you present it to this woman. So, hey, everything worked out. We had an amazing, we hit it off great. And it's just ever since, everything has gone great. I mean, it's just the best relationship I've ever been in. When God does something, when he writes your love story, no one can top it. But that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I'm sure she'll probably do one too, where she'll probably tell it from her perspective. But that is the story of how the young woman that I'm officially in a relationship with, and kind of pre-engaged. I'll call it pre-engaged, because we both, made a commitment. We both said that we know that's the way the Lord is leading us. I just got to, I'm about to step up I got the plan all set. I got the date plan, picked out the ring. So y'all pray for a brother, and hopefully I come here and give y'all some good news. All right, y'all, it's your boy, Pastor Brad. I love y'all.